there's that, and just like this day-to-day, well, like we've been talking about, this day-to-day fire hose to the face of completely insane bullshit. I mean, it's really amazing. It's just, it's astounding. And, and I'm finding myself, I mean, I've been aware of these things and, kind of dealing with them on some level for a long time, but lately, as you all know, things are kind of ramping up, and my fear level probably at, like 5 or 10% mostly, most of the time. And sometime in the last week, I just noticed it's really jumped up a lot to like maybe 50 or 60% of,
Hmm.
I mean, I'm not in a state of sheer terror, but I'm definitely scared. I mean, I'm really
Yeah.
damn scared about things going on in this country and the world. But, right now my focus is more on this country, and I feel like, I don't know how to put this. I'm sort of feeling the growing insanity of this country.
Hmm.
It's like,
And I find it kind of funny, I find it kind of sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. I find it hard to tell you, cause I find it hard to take. When people run in circles, it's a very, very mad world. Mad world. Mad world, mad world. Ow!
All right. This is the beginning of the recording of the second session here on the third Saturday in December of 2024. And this is, of course, Islands of Sanity in a Mad World, a long form course here in Living Resilience. And let me see. This is, as I mentioned, the second of two 1 hour sessions that we have today online. And oh my goodness, we've got a couple of new faces going on here. All right. Here we go. Okay. So for those who have just entered the space, I'm just finishing up doing an introduction for the recording of this session, where I'm telling the folks who are coming in and watching this recording, say a few days from now or weeks from now, and so on. And this is the second of two 1 hour classes or sessions today this is the third Saturday in December 2024. And in the first 1 hour session, we primarily focused on the uh, writing of Dugald Hine, who his book, At Work in the Ruins, is our book choice for the next couple, 3 months. And the since because we've had a number of folks say, I just don't have the capacity to read a whole book right now. Each one of the first sessions, as we hit these Saturdays, is we're putting to putting out a short clip from this particular, whoever the particular author is, which gives us something to work off of, something to reflect off of uh, with regard to the rest of the second session where we are. And what we heard about from Dugald Hine was some suggestions that he has about how different framing, different way of looking at this future, whatever this future holds for us. How can we approach it or frame it or view it differently than, so often we hear about doom scrolling and people who are really in a reaction of despair or climate anxiety or depression and so on. These are really common and frankly really appropriate reactions amongst many others. And so we did some exploring in that first hour, and we're bringing that exploration into this one. And is there anybody from the first hour who could say a little bit of your experience of what was Dugald Hine suggesting for us? How did you interpret it for yourself? Like, what was he inviting us to do? And I'm asking that because, maybe you have a different and perhaps better way of describing our first hour together and what Dugald Hine was talking about. Is there anybody from the first hour that could speak a
Not
little bit
me.
about that? Okay. What I am recalling is he invited us to look much like there's another prominent character in the collapse aware and collapse acceptant communities named Jem Bendell, man from England who's a professor or I guess emeritus or retired now, and also has worked in non-governmental organizations and in politics himself as a consultant. And he's done tremendous writing, writing that talk about going viral. His writings have done so, and Jen Bendell, has something he calls the four R's, and those that means four words that begin with R that he suggests might be a good way to frame what we're headed into. And I just wanted to mention that in case that's familiar to you, and or you may want to look it up. Jem Bendell, I'm happy to put that name in the chat for you. But what we looked at in this first hour was Dugald Hine's four suggestions or four prompts for our looking and our thinking and our conversations with one another. And I'm going to post those again so that folks can hopefully get a sense of what we're doing here. Okay, so that should be showing up in your chat area pretty soon. And these were four suggestions that Dugald Hine had for us in that brief clip that we watched last hour. And essentially where I'd like to see us go, and this I think is equally available to you if you've just arrived and you didn't have any part of the first hour, it's okay. This is an practice or an exercise that I'd like to suggest from some folks that I've trained under and been in innumerable workshops with over the years, who do a tremendous amount of work on what I would call the feeling body. How much facility do I have with my own feelings? You can call it feelings and emotions if you'd like. They have some distinctions with that, but they primarily work with the four, they would call them cornerstone feelings, just for ease of of opening up the conversation. And those four core feelings would be anger, fear, sadness, and joy. And of course, there are nuances. Of course, there are hundreds of other words we could bring in and talk about, kind of a fragmentation or a further distinction about those emotions or the different ways of different names we can put on each of those feelings. But I'd like to offer that this next piece that we're going to do together, and again, this is something that is, of course, like all of our practices, completely voluntary. You always have as much permission as you want or need to pass if you want to pass. And of course, we'd love it if you chime in to the best of your ability with each of the exercises or practices we do. So I'm just going to take a moment of silence. I'm going to settle in. I'm going to slow down my breathing. Because I notice that I'm still in the same kind of energy, if you will, that I opened up this session with, which was kind of a introducing to the people who will be watching the later recording. And so I was noticing that I wasn't breathing very fully. I was not entirely present. I wasn't really taking the time to see your faces and connect with you. So I'm taking a moment to do that. And you're more than welcome to join me in that in whatever way you do to bring yourself to more presence in your own body, presence to the other people on the screen. And Carola, hi, it's good to
Hi.
see you, meet you, and what you got?
What I would like to hear from you are the 4 R's because I could not find my chat room to get them. So would you tell us what the 4 R's are, please?
Well, I'm hoping Bob or others will help me remember. I know that, oh boy, I'm jotting notes to myself right now to jog my memory. Bob, you going to help at all?
He put something in there in the chat.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Bless your heart. What'd you put? What'd you put? Oh, look at you. Bless your heart.
Okay.
Corolla, is that clear for you?
Carola.
Carola, sorry.
Carola.
Carola. Can I just ask quickly, where are you calling in from, Carola?
Ashland, Oregon.
Wow, you too.
Are you from Ashland?
Yeah, and also Ken is from Ashland as well.
Right.
Yeah, Carol and I know each other.
Oh, okay. Got it. Very good. Okay.
Aren't you going to tell me the 4 R's?
Well, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you saw them in the chat.
I couldn't find the chat on
Oh, I
my
see.
screen. I don't know where to look for it.
Are you on a tablet or a phone?
Just tell me. It's quicker.
Okay. It's resilience, reconciliation, relinquishment, and restoration.
Thank you.
And you'll also find that in Jem, Jem, as in Michael, Jem Bendel's own personal website, and then also in the Deep Adaptation um, website and archive and so on. Both of those locations will give you all of his writings and so on.
Very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. And so, if I could, it would be really great, Carola, if we could get you to be able to see those four elements from Dugald Hine. And so if we could just take a moment to possibly get the chat on your screen for you, would that be okay?
Oh, great. I really love to have help in finding.
Great. Okay. So
Hmm.
here's what I would invite us to do. Um, I'm gonna do a demonstration of uh, what we are all invited to do in this particular feeling body or feelings practice. And the idea is to become more and more aware of and discerning about what are the feelings that I have coming on from time to time. Not always, but certainly in this, I look at this past year and I notice this has been a very, very strong year for upwelling of feelings, not just in myself, but in many people. And I've also noticed that my dog has just opened the door and it is really cold outside. I'll be right back. I'm going to close the door.
Ah,
Okay. So this is the most basic level, kind of first step in a path to become more knowledgeable, more wise, and more aware of our feeling body, or the feelings that occur for us. And I'm going to ask each of us to notice, just say in the past, I don't know how far you might need to go back, but when the last time you had a very strong feeling of either anger, fear, sadness, or joy. Bob, would you mind do me a favor? Would you mind writing those in to the chat as you did with the other stuff? Thank you, brother. I really appreciate it. So anger, fear, sadness, or joy. And what we're doing here is just noticing what was a strong enough experience of one of those feelings that it kind of goes over a particular threshold where you could say, wow, yeah, I got angry at that. And I would call it, I'm going to use some language here that might seem a little kind of stuffy, but it's about percentage of a feeling. What I mean by that is I have a certain amount of capacity to be present with my own feelings. Like I'll use anger because since I was a very young person all the way through to now, anger's always been the easiest for me to contact, and I've been the most aware of it. So I have a certain capacity for anger in my system, and over which, if I get over that capacity, I start to not be very present. I start to not be aware, not be present, not be able to relate very well. I hope you're understanding and clear on that. So um, I'm gonna, I'm going to use anger. I'm gonna look for something that has um, had an upwelling of anger in my system in the past, say, month. And I'm going to use something that's out of the news that yeah, I had a reaction. I had an upwelling of anger out of this news item. And it took my usual ambient amount of anger, which is usually 3 or 4% of my capacity. All of a sudden, I could feel more like 60 or 70% of my capacity for anger. I was pissed. I was angry. I could feel the upwelling, and I could feel various body sensations with that. and I could also feel the emotion or the feeling of that. That included things like the warmth in my face. I could feel my shortness of my breathing. I was not breathing well at all. And so the news item that I'll just mention so you could put it in context with me is I do a lot of research into what's the current state of affairs, particularly with activism around the world. Environmental activism is a big deal for me. It's always been a soft spot in my heart for activists, and I think these are terrible times to be an activist, especially, well, I want to say especially in countries that are less privileged. But now I can say in the UK and the US in particular, it is not much better. There's a lot of danger in being an activist. And there's a particular activist in South America. He's actually American, but he did some extraordinary journalism, and being an active lawyer in a case against Chevron, extracting oil and leaving a gargantuan mess
Mm.
in this South American country. He eventually won the case against Chevron to the tune of billions of dollars of correcting it. And just recently, his name is Stephen Donziger. He recently had to face a Chevron court, not a U.S. court, but a Chevron-based court, in which his win in that case was removed, and he was then found guilty of some number of trumped-up charges, and is been under house arrest in his own home for months now. So this uh, is extremely aggravating to me. I'm not trying to sell you on this case or convince you of anything. I just want to let you know that was the case, that is the case that riled me up, and I saw a big shift in my anger level. And so I'm articulating for you now some of the feeling, the body sensations and the feeling sensations, if you will, that I went through. So I'm talking a whole bunch to give you a context for what it is we're doing together. I'm hoping that yours will be quite a bit shorter. So I'm going to do a short version right now to model this for you. And I would invite you to do the same, whether it's for grief or sadness, whether it's for fear and or for joy. It's completely fine to use an example of something that increased your experience of joy or the anger. So it would go something like this. I had this experience of a recent article that gave me the recent update about a journalist and lawyer who has won a case for billions of dollars penalizing Chevron for its abuse in the Southern and South America oil fields. He has since been that his win in that case was completely removed, and he was found guilty by that kangaroo court, by that Chevron-based court, not the U.S.-based court. And I believe that spells a deep threat for activists around the world, and particularly activists who are trying to do work against U.S. corporations. I had an increase from about 2%, 3% anger in my system on average to more than 60%. Big jump. I think I've already mentioned to you that I had limited breathing. I had muscle tension. Just taking a moment to scan to see what else I could share with you about that. Just increasing my awareness of how my body reacts to a big infusion of anger. It's not something that I'm suggesting to anybody to want to now leave it in your system or grow it right now. That's not the point. The point is just to notice and be able to articulate what are some of the body sensations or feeling sensations that you have when you've noticed a big increase in a given feeling. I think that's about it for the short version. Thank you so much for listening to all that. Is there anybody else who would be willing to give it a shot? And I'm happy to stay right with you and help
Sure.
remind you of the
I'll
prompt.
have a go.
Great. Thank you. Please do.
Well, when the election revealed that Trump was our new president, I felt anger and fear
Yes.
about what
Okay.
life will be
I'll be
like
right back.
the
Sorry.
next 4 years. But I did not have the sensations that who is our host? What is his name?
Dean?
What?
Dean?
Dean. Okay.
Mhm.
Dean Walker. Yes. I did not have any breathing, heart didn't go faster. No. I just acknowledged that I was really pissed off that
Yeah.
to tolerate this guy for the next 4 years.
Got it.
Oh,
Really clear. Thank you for just jumping right in and being willing to do that.
you're
And
welcome.
Ken, I know that you need to be leaving soon. Would you be willing to go next? And do you have a particular incident in mind of having an increase of any of the feelings that we've mentioned?
Who are you talking to?
Ken?
Oh, Ken. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Mhm.
Ah, I I live in a senior community. They're having an election, and for the board, they want you to vote online. And I copied down a code they gave me to went to a new page and the new page turned out to be you enter and something, your name, I guess, and a password.
Mhm.
And I kind of erupted. I said, what? I need a password in order to vote? You're making this hard for people,
Mhm.
And I started shouting at the computer.
Yeah.
Um, I my body became more active. I was moving my arms, raising my voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't recall other body sensations, though, at that point. I I kept it up for probably a minute, sometimes repeating myself, and then thought of calmer things to say, started calming down.
Yeah. It sounds like you've got some skill at what is sometimes called self-regulating, bringing yourself back to a center, bringing yourself back to a calmer state.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, great. Thank you so much. And I don't know what your timing will be when you need to go to be at your.
Oh, yes, it is time. Thank you
All
for
right.
the reminder.
Oh,
Ken, really
you.
great to have you here, and I hope we'll see you next time if you'd like.
Thank you.
thank
All
you.
right. Is there anybody else who would like to just give it a shot to tell us about your own sensations or feelings and their shift, what you noticed as they shifted?
Sure.
Yeah, please, Richard.
Uh, well, the one that's really up for me to talk about is fear.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, since the election and just witnessing this crazy lineup of weird, moronic, inexperienced idiots that Trump is naming, to be cabinet secretaries and heads of departments and all kinds of important positions. There's that, and just like this day to day, well, like we've been talking about, this day to day fire hose to the face of completely insane bullshit. I mean, it's really amazing. It's just, it's astounding. And I'm finding myself, I mean, I've been aware of these things and, kind of dealing with them on some level for a long time, but lately, as you all know, things are kind of ramping up and my fear level probably at, like 5 or 10% mostly, most of the time. And sometime in the last week, I just noticed it's really jumped up a lot to like maybe 50 or 60% of,
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not in a state of sheer terror, but I'm definitely scared. I mean, I'm really
Yeah.
damn scared about things going on in this country and the world. But, right now my focus is more on this country. And I feel like, I don't know how to put this. I'm sort of feeling the growing insanity of this country.
Mhm.
It's like, it's terrifying. I mean, it's really unbelievable. It's like people are losing it left and right, and yet people are acting like they're not losing it, like it's all somehow normal.
Yeah.
And it's really scary. So yeah, and I'm increasingly feeling it in my body, and part of me just wants to flee, but there's really no good place to flee to, particularly anymore. I'm not. Hmm, I don't know. You have any prompts for me here? I'm a little stuck.
You know, that I don't think you're stuck at all. I think
Uh,
you uh, brought us to a clarity about what you're sharing. And then I noticed that I was having a resonance with what every piece of what you were talking about.
mm,
In fact, it's important for me to not just make note to y'all. That's Richard, what Richard is just sharing right now, that sense of that we are literally going crazy as a nation and globally in some ways. And that's why I put together this Islands of Sanity in a Mad World,
right.
is the emphasis on and on the emphasis on what have we normalized in terms of truly insane or at least cognitive dissonance beyond the known universe?
Yeah.
What have we normalized that is truly insane, that is truly a self-terminating culture? So thank you. I think you've just done a really beautiful job of articulating your own experience and you sure articulated for me
Mm.
as well. So if there's actually no, I don't need to say that. Um, is there was there anything else you would like to wrap up with, Richard, before I invite somebody else to share?
Um, yeah, one thing I'm aware, I feel this, and I'm also mentally aware of it, that there's a kind of weird hysteria mounting, in this country. And it's not, really hard for me to express. It's more of a feeling thing. But I do feel like there's this hysteria that's mounting and this like intense fear, but also this intense vengefulness. I mean, this the vengefulness of some of these people in power now is so incredibly creepy. So that's been triggering a lot of the fear, I think, for me.
Yeah,
Just what horrible emotions and passions are starting to be unleashed, you know?
yeah,
That's it.
yeah. Thank you. You've really opened up for me the whole fear side of my experience as well. I know I talked about anger and so on, which is fine,
Right.
but
Yeah.
right there with it at an equal level is fear. And so thank you so much for opening that up for me.
Yep.
Is there anybody who hasn't yet shared your particular flavor of feeling upwelling that you'd like to speak about the shift that you've experienced in your own feeling body?
I'll go.
Yeah, please, Allison.
Um, so I felt joy this morning for the first time. Like I can't even remember, which is why it was so
Yeah.
startling.
Hmm.
And it's I woke up this morning and realized it was the winter solstice.
Yeah.
And this is my favorite day of the year. I love it. It's, it's your permission to go deep inside. It's your permission to lay around on the couch all day because it's supposed to be dark and rainy and cold. And, this is just it's the mother lode of doing internal work. And I love this day. And it's the counter to Americans' Christmas, with the frenzy and the shopping and the cooking and the spending money and everything. But because of everything I've gone through and, being in the hurricane in Nashville, when I woke up, I was like, oh, I haven't felt this in a really long time, like pure genuine happiness. I have not experienced that since September. So it was stark in its presentation to me. And so I could feel my body relax and I could just lay there and be happy that I made it to another solstice and tried to remind myself I should probably do something today like to commemorate the fact that there are still some good things out there because the background, all the stuff Richard's talking about, like that plagues me on a daily basis, and so I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm fearful, like, and it's, these aren't low emotions, they're high emotions. So when this crept in this morning, I was really happily surprised because I realized that I needed a contrast and
Yeah.
nothing has really seemed to be working for me. And I've plowed my way through things, but I just haven't had any moments of peace. So I could breathe deep, I could relax. I was feeling sensations that were foreign to me for a really, really long time. It may only be a 24-hour event, or it may end in an hour, depending on what shit happens next, who calls me or what god awful thing shows up, because that is the rule of the day. But for the moment, and then I realized I could be in this group and I could see you and we could talk. And so I'm having the first good day I've had in a really, really long time.
Bravo. Bravo.
Thank
Beautiful.
you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Allison, thank you so much. And I just want to remind us all of a term that I don't know how familiar it'll be for you, but is it's really different than just sitting on a screen in a Zoom call. Actually, what it seems like is growing into this experience is the term space holding. Each of us is not just listening, we're actually opening up ourselves to be able to hear whatever a person wants to share about anger,
Right.
fear, sadness, joy, and that willingness to hold whatever the person wants to express. I call that space holding. I'm certainly not the only one, and I didn't uh, invent the term, but it feels like that's what we're doing here. And I so appreciate you sharing the joy side of the equation. Thank you so much.
I figure we needed a little of that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Short-lived though it may be.
Yeah.
Hmm.
How about you, Bob? Do you got anything you'd like to share about any of those core feelings?
A couple of them. I also have a little bit of a joy about this being the solstice, in that it's not just the shortest day of the year, daylight day of the year, um, but it's the turning point from, in my mind, from darkness to light, because it starts getting lighter,
Mhm.
physically getting lighter. So you can use that as a metaphor in your mind if you want to,
Mm.
that maybe, even though we can't maybe see it, how it's going to manifest or anything, somewhere behind our present knowing capabilities, it's going to be getting lighter
Mm.
as time goes on here. I'm sure we'll see lots of manifestations that we don't think of it in that manner, but that's that may be one of the things that actually can be there behind it. And there's sadness that we have to go through this, um, that we have to um, experience the materiality of what we have done ourselves, um, in our pursuit of the ego, and what it manifests and has done to the planet, and then separated itself from nature and the things that uh, support our sustenance. Uh, but it's almost, again, part of joy, in that I have a faith that that what's happening is supposed to happen. I, it's not good, and we can kind of say, yeah, this is why, that's why, this why, that's why. But I mean, it's kind of like, I always heard the saying that if you want to get a man's attention, you hit him in the wallet, and
You
then
do
all of a
what?
sudden he's gonna.
I didn't hear that. You want to get a man's attention? What?
You hit him in the wallet,
Oh, yes.
yeah,
Right.
and then he'll spring to attention right quick,
Right.
and that it for him would be a fear of loss of money.
Mm.
It's fear, and so other people are going to experience fear at time, but maybe that fear will help turn them around to being more present, more centered, more understanding of themselves. Not that we can never understand the situation in total, but at least understand themselves and how they fit into the scheme, and maybe glean a little bit of peace from that. So,
that's kind of how the things that I was thinking about when you were talking about those areas. So
Yeah, thank you so much. I uh I would just Janet, did you have anything that you would like to share about any particular feeling that you've noticed shifting at any point recently?
I just want to say that I really understand, Richard, what you're talking about. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, because all that crazy sense of things coming apart, I think that's part of the coming apart of all of the institutions. Like it's happening. Um, and it's crazy and it's scary that it's there. And now that there's been threats about Canada, I don't feel so safe here anymore. I'm in Canada for anybody who doesn't know, and I always felt like I was a bit on the outside. I'm not on the outside anymore.
Mhm.
Um, but I yesterday I actually had moments of gratitude. I The reason I'm black is that a couple of weeks ago I had a tooth that broke, and my dentist said you need to get it out, and they couldn't do it until January, but then they got an appointment for yesterday, and so I had my broken tooth taken out, and I can tell you that I'm sitting there getting my mouth frozen till it's completely numb. I was very grateful for modern technology. Um, it's one of the things you really want to take with you is um, that that not just the technology, but the ability to train people to do that, the equipment, the everything. You kind of go, if this wasn't here, this would be a very bad situation because it's been infected.
Mm.
And so my face is all swollen and I'm feeling a little ugh, which is why I'm still invisible. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, and it's so weird to feel like everything's cracking and breaking, and at the same time, here's these good things, and I go outside and my horses are happy, and the birds like the sunflower seeds, and there's a bunny that comes out at night to clean up, and it feels like cognitive dissonance to have that plus, Richard, what you're talking about, this sort of breaking apart feeling, um, which is starting to get very real. Um, anyway, so that's me.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Janet. So we're kind of on the downhill run here, the last few minutes of this final or second session for today. And just wanted to give you a sense of this is a beginning first taste of what we're going to do quite a bit in this year-long course. And that is to be able to bring whatever has moved us in some significant way. We can bring as much as we'd like to share about any particular something that has angered us, something that has us feel fear, something that has us feel grief or sadness, or something that has us feel joy. And there will be a number of elements brought every month. There'll be at least one, maybe two. We keep the doom scrolling to an absolute minimum here. But the idea that there are certain updates about elements of what's often called the poly crisis that we're in, could be about global finance. It could be about habitat destruction. It could be about extinction of species and on and on. And today we've each gotten a chance to share about little personal things. And it could be something very personal to you in your life, not a news item at some larger scale. It could be something very personal to you. And you're always welcome to pass. You're always welcome to bring as much as you would like to share about a more personal item as well. This the possibility is that we could actually develop an individual and a collective skill set in advanced space holding, way to facilitate a support group, the way to have a support group consistently feel a coherence of each person that's in the circle. And Bob, you wrote in a little note here that I hope everybody's able to see and read about things that take you away from your centeredness, from being present in the moment, seem all too prevalent in our everyday awareness. Just knowing that, becoming more aware of it, is progress in keeping our sanity in what seems like an insane world. Really brilliantly said. And that's the point of this work, is to whatever degree we can come together from our very different lives. What matters most to you is likely going to be different than what matters most to me. The practices that I might take on to increase my capacity to be present in this stressful world, my practices will likely be different than yours. But we can come together and sit in circle together and learn how to expand our skill set at holding space for one another, so that we can feel comfortable to come into this coherent space instead of what can often be present out in in the wilds, as my teacher used to say, and talking about the business as usual world, and the polarization and the nonstop just aggression of our world. And so we have this opportunity to really heighten our skill set individually and together to generate that consistent level of coherence. Carola?
I want to share a song
Hey,
with you all that I wrote several years ago. Present moment, all there is, all there is. Living in the present can be very pleasant. All there is, all there is.
oh my goodness.
That's great.
Oh my goodness.
Well, your recent comment reminded me that my mind can be way off on that star way over there instead of right here and present, exactly what we are thinking and talking and feeling about. So thank you. You jiggled that for me.
Carola, you are just precious. Oh my goodness. Welcome,
Well,
welcome.
It takes a precious person to recognize another one. So,
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for that. That was just absolutely
You're
brilliant.
welcome.
And I'm glad that we recorded that, because then I can hear Carola singing that song anytime.
And furthermore, I'm 102 years young.
Get the heck out of here.
My birthday is 9/1/1922.
Oh my God.
So I'm 102. Yay!
Oh
And in good health.
Wow, cool.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Amazing.
Well, I
I
sure as heck hope that this is not the last time we see you. I would love to see you come as often as you would like. You are
Well,
always welcome.
thank you.
If I may
Wow.
shift gears for just this last couple of minutes here, we have just enough time that if each of us took a minute or so to just check out, like we actually didn't for this one, but oftentimes we'll check in for a minute or so. And if you could include in your checking out what you're landing with after spending time together, this time together and this sharing together. And so if we could each just take a minute or so to let each other know what we're landing with, I would appreciate it.
What we're wedding with? Landing?
Landing with,
Landing.
as if we're coming in for a landing.
Okay. Mm.
Is there anybody who would start us out?
I
Oh,
will.
I'll start off. Oh, go ahead.
Um,
I like your joy. Go ahead,
okay.
Allison. Yeah.
This was a really good session. It's we got to mix up everything that we're experiencing as human beings, collectively and individually, and we have different experiences on a daily basis, but we're all on the same page, and it just even in the face of the brutality of what looks like it's coming, it's still this is like a really important support system. And I'm going forward with the day with all of you with me. And it just makes my day better, having been able to share something with people that have the same view of life as I do. So thank you, and happy solstice.
Thank you
Oh,
so much.
I support what you have already shared, Allison, and I'm always reminded that we are really one. ONE. The fact that we relate to what each other says means that, that's part of me too. So I like to remind myself that everything out there, we are all in this together and we are one. Over.
I think we've still got Janet and or Richard and or Bob.
Yeah, sure, I'll go. Yeah, this was a really good session. Yeah, in general, I'm usually left with a really warm feeling inside, and I just really appreciate everybody's willingness to be open and honest and kind of tell it like it is, because we all need that. I need that. So to be with other people who are willing to do that is great. I really appreciate that and all of you. And so I'm landing with, kind of simultaneous awareness of all the shit we're facing, and also a feeling of love and lightness inside too, which they're both there, which is interesting. Uh, that's enough for me.
Beautiful. Thank you, Richard.
I would just like to say ditto to what everybody has said. It's just, yeah, it just feels like a talisman to carry forward. You hit something difficult and you can reach in your pocket and say, well, I know some people who talk my language and I'm not alone. So,
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well said.
You
And I'll
too.
say that, appreciate the connectedness, because that's Um, there are philosophies out there that say that there is nothing but connections. Um, Everything's connected. A lot of it we don't know is connected, but we are here at least consciously and on purpose because we want to be connected. And I appreciate that. And that's
Right.
something we should keep up and keep in the forefront of our mindset. So thank you very much.
We never did get your name. It's not on my screen.
Isn't.
Who are you?
That's Bob Bates.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
He's not on my screen. Oh, there he is.
There you
Hi.
go.
Okay.
All right. So we are officially at the end of our time together. And if I could just say one quick piece, I think most of you are connected with the online course material, how to get to it, how to see the various videos or read the articles or whatever. And Carola, I'm curious if you've seen any of the stuff I'm talking about. We have a course, some course materials, some videos that we would suggest, some articles to read, and so on.
Okay.
And so, if it would be helpful, perhaps could I ask you to just stay on for a few minutes after
Sure.
this, and I could just tell you about how to get to it if you'd like to.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, great.
It's more than just clicking.
It's more than clicking, but
Okay.
it is clicking, but it's a number of clicks.
Okay. I'll stay on.
So y'all, thank you so much for the range of today. From being able to be in some of the darker or the more difficult emotions, if it's fear or anger or sadness, and also to be able to weave in the joy and weave in the just the lovely sharing that ended up happening, kind of like little blossoms show.
Hmm.
Thank you so much, and um, I think that's all I've got till we see each other again on the first Saturday of next month.
Yeah.
And please join us as much as you'd like in the Poetry of Predicament podcast. That's the YouTube channel, and the course materials and safe circle calls, all kinds of stuff.
Hmm.
Have a lovely, lovely solstice
Mm.
and lovely holiday time, whatever that is for you.
And rejoice in the lengthening day.
Yeah.
Hey.
And I find it kind of funny, I find it kind of sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. I find it hard to tell you, 'cause I find it hard to take. When people run in circles, it's a very, very mad world. Mad world. Mad world. Mad world. Ow!